So, if you were to ask me, one of the most notable and interesting aspects regarding the fandom for My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, is all of the various memes or inside jokes that have popped up throughout the years. From ancient demotivational poster images made in 2011, all the way up to whatever modern day memes are, the My Little Pony fandom has always loved to make jokes regarding not only the show, but also stuff that's been going on in the fandom in of itself. Who could ever forget such classics like Rainbow Dash saying 20% cooler, basically the entire character of Dopey Hooves? Or, if you want a more recent example, how about this photo of a mop that got popular last year because some people noticed it had a striking resemblance to Fluttershy? If you were to ask me, however, one of the most fascinating memes to ever come out of the MLP fandom is one that originated from a certain fan-made abridged series that you may or may not have heard of, My Little Pony, Friendship is Witchcraft. There's a lot of stuff that I could say about it, but all you need to know is that due to the series' popularity within the general MLP community, there were actually several different pony memes that got popular in the fandom solely because of it. And the one that I'm going to be taking a look at today is called Sweetie Bot. This meme is easily one of the most intriguing phenomena to ever come out of the My Little Pony fandom, primarily because of all of the content regarding it that have been made by MLP fans very devoted to the joke. So today, I am going to be taking a quick retroactive look back at the history of Sweetie Bot, the MLP fandom's most interesting meme. So, before I actually talk more about Sweetie Bot herself, I should probably give more context as to where she actually originated from in the first place. For those that may not know, My Little Pony, Friendship is Witchcraft was a comedic fan-made abridged series which started in June 2011 that parodied the actual original show by taking clips from specific episodes and doing stuff like changing the dialogue spoken by the characters, or by also altering the narratives, which often resulted in downright bizarre or absurd storylines that were very different from their source material, to say the least. The series in of itself was created by a duo named Chocolop Pones, which was comprised of a guy named Griffin Lewis, who primarily wrote the dialogue and also composed all of the original songs for the series, and Jenny Nicholson. Yeah, the same Jenny Nicholson who has a big YouTube channel nowadays, who did the majority of the voice acting / singing in the series, and also helped write it. Now, truthfully, there are a few aspects of the series that haven't exactly aged the best, but nevertheless, from its beginning in 2011 to its eventual official end later in January 2016, MLP Friendship is Witchcraft was insanely popular among the MLP / brony fandom. There are a variety of reasons that I could list here to explain why it was so widespread back then, but honestly, most of them basically just boil down to the series, for a significant number of people back then at least, being an all-around, legitimately funny and entertaining parody of My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. However, one of the most notable parts of Friendship is Witchcraft were all of the miscellaneous inside jokes or memes that popped up within the MLP fandom because of it. Which then now brings me to the main topic of this video, Sweetie Bot. Now, if you haven't actually watched Friendship is Witchcraft itself, without spoiling too much stuff, the context here is basically that within the series, the pony named Sweetie Belle is actually a robot, hence the name Sweetie Bot. The main joke is pretty much that despite very clearly not being an actual pony, like she even has a robotic voice which was done by Griffin Lewis through a voice changer.
The fun levels will be at maximum efficiency. I shall acquire my yo-yo, hammer, and other objects of fun.
Literally no other characters seem to care or even are aware that she's a robot at all. She first appears in the 4th episode of the series, Cute from the Hip, and makes a variety of appearances until the last main episode, Seed No Evil. There are a fair amount of memorable jokes or scenes from Friendship is Witchcraft containing SweetieBot that I could tell you about, but my personal favorite would probably be this sequence in the 5th episode where an entire original song featuring her, appropriately named Sweetie's Big Race, is played. And honestly, considering that the voice singing the lyrics here quite literally sounds like a robot, it surprisingly sounds pretty decent and is fun to listen to, if you ask me. With that said, after SweetieBot first appeared in Friendship is Witchcraft, she quickly became one of the most popular gags to ever come out of the series, with her starting to become somewhat of a phenomenon within the MLP fandom. People were making stuff like memes or image macros about her, and she even eventually appeared on some MLP merch made by We Love Fine. In the process of all this though, some fans of FIW also of course began making other stuff, like fan art, animations, and even stuff like original fan music, all of which were about SweetieBot. And the most interesting thing regarding all of this is that people weren't just making fan content about SweetieBot in 2012 or 2013. Sure, that time period was when the meme was at its general peak of popularity, but ever since then, there has always been a somewhat slow but steady influx of new stuff featuring her being made. Even after literal years Friendship is Witchcraft itself concluded, and even still up to the present day of 2023. Now, there is a bunch of cool fan-made content regarding SweetieBot that I could probably mention here, however, I'll just quickly highlight the ones that I believe to be the most notable or simply entertaining. There are a number of short animations about SweetieBot out there, but the most popular ones include these 2 videos, which are basically scenes from Friendship is Witchcraft, just reanimated. Aside from those though, there's also other stuff like this animation by a channel called BVids of her informing us of an incoming, tactical nuke, and also this other animation made in Source Filmmaker by a channel called Optimus97, featuring SweetieBot's eyes. In terms of something like music, however, there is actually a surprising amount of original My Little Pony fan songs, all about SweetieBot. The genres of these songs do vary a fair bit. Some of them lean into more of that early 2010s dubstep or EDM sound, while others go for a more general chill / laid-back feel. However, my all-time favorite pieces of music relating to SweetieBot is definitely the Destabilized Quadrilogy, which was made by an MLP fan musician named Prince Whatever. The Destabilized series of songs is split up into 4 separate parts, with the first one having been released all the way back in November 2013, and the 4th and latest part being released just earlier this year in April of 2023. I won't spoil too much about them, but I will say that I think all 4 installments in the series are very good, and you'll probably like them too, especially if you're a metalhead or just into rock music in general. With that said, all of these different fan works about SweetieBot are definitely very cool and impressive in their own ways. However, there is one more type of fan content regarding SweetieBot that I haven't mentioned yet. So, well, here it is. And if you're wondering, no, your eyes are currently not deceiving you. You are looking at an actual real-life physical SweetieBot robot. So yeah, a select few people within the MLP fandom are so dedicated to the meme that they are willing to try to engineer an actual pony robot based around SweetieBot. So, for some extra context, back in 2014, a small team of Russian bronies, who just so happened to be also engineers, decided to start the appropriately named SweetieBot project with the ultimate goal of creating a fully functioning pony robot of SweetieBot. So, later in March 2016, they started to release some videos giving occasional updates on the progress, and things seem to be going pretty well. By 2017, the team behind it even started showing off some prototypes of the robot at various My Little Pony conventions. I won't lie, there's definitely technical stuff here that I don't fully understand. I'm not an engineer specializing in robotics or whatever, but a lot of what they were showing off nevertheless looked very impressive. As 2019 came around though, it seems as though progress updates regarding the SweetieBot project did start to slowly become a bit more infrequent. The last video they ever uploaded to their YouTube channel was in September of 2019. This clip of a cat being slightly concerned over the robot's presence. However, despite the team being less active online, it seems like they never truly stopped, because despite a while of silence, they resumed giving some updates earlier in May of 2023. So, it looks like the project is still doing fine nowadays. And also, believe it or not, but there was actually a second real-life SweetieBot project, which was also first revealed earlier this year. And as you can see, it is quite different from the other project started in 2014, both in terms of its actual functionality and visual appearance. But it nonetheless looks pretty impressive. It'll definitely be interesting to see what happens with both of these projects in the future, and so, I wish them luck, because what they're doing is certainly not easy, to say the least. So, with all of that now said, you might be wondering, what should be the main takeaway from all of this stuff about SweetieBot? Truthfully I don't know. Don't mess with MLP fans, we are clinically insane, and we'll build IOL functioning pony robots, I guess. Jokes aside though, I think the actual takeaway from all of this should be that everything made regarding SweetieBot throughout the years since 2012 is pretty fascinating to look back on, both for the sake of nostalgia and also for what it means nowadays. Considering that there is new content regarding this over-decade-old meme still being occasionally made and shown off, I would say it is a very good example of a fandom in general being passionate about something and continuing to be so for quite a long time. So, because of that, I believe SweetieBot is a relatively small, but nevertheless very interesting part of My Little Pony history. I could say a lot of things about it, but I think the most important aspect is that it really goes to show the dedication and love that MLP fans have not only to something like Friendship is Witchcraft, but also, of course, to My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, as a whole. And honestly, I think that's great. Especially even more so, now that it's been several years since the actual show itself has ended. So, with everything about that now being said, that has been this retroactive look back at SweetieBot. Thanks for watching. Anyways, however, if you have any cool memories or general thoughts regarding the SweetieBot meme, then you can go ahead and put them down in the comments below. I would definitely love to hear what you guys have to say. Anyways, this video was a bit shorter than what I usually make, but that's mainly because I've been working on some other stuff as of late, so yeah. With that said, this is pretty much the end of the video now. So, if you liked it, then consider doing all of the normal stuff. Leaving a like and sharing it around with your friends are some of the best ways to support me, so it is of course always very appreciated. Well, I don't think I have anything else notable enough to say here now. So, I will see you whenever I see you.